Welcome to my presentation of Emotional Freedom Technique, also known as EFT or tapping. So my name is Angie Taylor. I am a doctor of natural health, mother to 8, midwife, and have several certifications in what it means to be trauma informed, as well as positivity coaching, law of attraction, Ho'oponopono. So all of those come together when I am working and serving with people. I am not a certified EFT practitioner. EFT is one of the tools that I use to help release emotional garbage that is impeding progress when it comes to personal and or professional goals and dreams. I am simply someone who has used EFT off and on since 2003, which is when it was first introduced to me. A certified EFT practitioners are beneficial when dealing with true mental health issues, and you can go to emofree.com to find a certified EFT practitioner. The quality of one's life is directly related to their emotional health. Emotional health is the foundation beneath self-confidence, and self-confidence is the springboard to achievement in every walk of life. This was said by Gary Craig. Gary Craig is the founder of Emotional Freedom Technique, or EFT. So here's a very short history. There's this Dr. Callahan who discovered that he could use certain meridian points to help clear emotional blocks. And he was very excited about it, and he wanted to train others, and he set a price point that was more than most people could scrape together. Gary Craig was the only person who was able to be at that class, and he learned Dr. Callahan's very complicated technique, and this technique required the help of someone trained in the technique. So Gary Craig is an engineer by education, but had never worked in this field before. Being an engineer, he spent time working through Dr. Callahan's technique to see if his brain could figure out a more efficient and easier way to accomplish the same results, but in a way that could be taught to everyone. Meaning, once you learn it, it's yours for life and you can teach it to others so that we all have benefit to this amazing technique. He discovered what he called emotional freedom technique. So what is EFT? Very simply put, it is a form of energy medicine where tapping is done on certain meridian points of the body. EFT is performed mostly on meridian points on the face and hands. So what does EFT work on? Everything. Okay, that's just the easiest way to say it. Everything, including all emotions. EFT releases the emotional charge of negative emotions. EFT strengthens the emotional charge of positive emotions. So yes, it is possible to quote unquote tap out negative emotions and then tap in positive emotions. EFT can also be used on physical ailments like headaches, cravings, fibromyalgia, backaches, etc., as these are often tied to an emotion. Okay, so you can use this along with visualization to create the outcome that you want to have. You can also use it as a way of healing from past events. It can also be used as a way to focus in the present. So the first step is called the basic recipe, and it has the setup. Never skip this step. Then you have the sequence, the 9-gamut procedure, and then you do the sequence again. So the setup is very simple. This is what's done to set up your energy system. This routine is taught as being vital to the whole process and prepares the energy system so that the rest of the basic recipe can do its job. It's vital to make sure your energy system is properly oriented before attempting to remove its disruptions. Never skip the setup. Now, I can tell you that there are people who skip the setup, okay? And there are situations in which you will feel guided to start with the setup. Okay, so this is very intuitive work. Once you get into it and you start using it, and I highly recommend starting with it as Dr. Craig has designed it, and then you can figure out for yourself what you can drop, what you can use, when to use what. Okay. So your energy system is subject to a form of electrical interference, which can block the balancing effect of these tapping procedures. When present, this interfering blockage must be removed, or the basic recipe will not work. Removing it is the job of the setup. So that would be one of your clues. Let's say that you decide to skip the setup, and then you feel like, okay, well, this isn't working. Then you want to do it again with the setup. Okay. So technically speaking, this interfering blockage takes the form of polarity reversal within your energy system. This is not the same thing as the energy disruptions which cause your negative emotions. The setup is done by tapping the first 3 fingers of one hand on the karate chop spot of the other hand. Okay? Now, some do choose to use the sore spot instead of the karate chop for this part, and either is okay, but the sore spot is a bit more effective. Okay, so as you can see in the slide, the karate chop is obviously on the hand, the outside of your hand, just below your pinky, and the sore spot is, you'll find a spot just underneath your collarbone. If you look at the picture and just start pressing around, you will find the sore spot. And you want to tap continuously while saying, even though I'm blank, whatever that emotion is, even though I'm angry, I deeply and completely accept myself. And you want to do that like 3 times. Even though I feel like I'm failing, I deeply and completely accept myself. So you want to use as much real, raw emotion as you can. So the sequence. Each energy meridian has 2 endpoints. For the purposes of the basic recipe, you need only tap on one end to balance out any disruptions that may exist in it. These endpoints are near the surface of the body and are thus more readily accessed than other points along the meridians that may be more deeply buried. Now, let's locate the endpoints of these meridians that are important to the basic recipe. Taken together and done in the order presented, they form the sequence. So at the top of the head is the crown. At the beginning of the eyebrow, just above and to one side of the nose, is another point. On the bone bordering the outside corner of the eye is another point. On the bone under an eye, about 1 inch below your pupil, is a point. Another point is located on the small area between the bottom of your nose and the top of your upper lip, about midway. Another point is midway between the point of your chin and the bottom of your lower lip. Even though it's not directly on the point of the chin, we call it the chin point because it is descriptive enough for people to understand easily. The junction where the sternum or breastbone, collarbone, and the first rib meet. Okay, so to locate it, first place your forefinger on the U-shaped notch at the top of the breastbone. This is about where a man would knot his tie. From the bottom of the U, move your forefinger down toward the navel 1 inch and then go to the left or right, depending on which side you're on, about 1 inch. It is at the beginning of the collarbone, and we call it the collarbone point because this is a lot easier to say than the junction where the sternum or breastbone, collarbone, and first rib meet. Okay. Now you have another spot that's on the side of your body at a point even with the nipple for men or in the middle of the bra strap for women. It's about 4 inches below the armpit. For men, 1 inch below the nipple. For ladies, where the underskin of the breast meets the chest wall. This point is skipped by most women because it is awkward for us to tap well in social situations, such as being in a restaurant setting. Even though EFT results are superb without it, I include it now for completeness, but it is an optional point. Now for the points on the hand. On the outside edge of your thumb, at a point even with the base of the thumbnail, is 1 point. On the side of your index finger, the side facing your thumb, at a point even with the base of the fingernail. On the side of your middle finger, the side closest to the thumb, at a point even with the base of the fingernail. On the inside of your baby finger, the side closest to your thumb, at a point even with the base of the fingernail. And the last point is the karate chop point, which I have previously described. It's located in the middle of the fleshy part on the outside of the hand between the top of the wrist bone and the base of the baby finger. Please notice that these tapping points proceed down the body. That is, each tapping point is below the one before it. That should make it a snap to memorize. A few trips through it and it should be yours forever. Now, the 9-gamut procedure is perhaps the most bizarre looking process within EFT. Its purpose is to fine-tune the brain, and it does so via some eye movements and some humming and counting. Through connecting nerves, certain parts of the brain are stimulated when the eyes are moved. Likewise, the right side of the brain, which is the creative side, is engaged when you hum a song, and the left side, or the digital side, is engaged when you count. The 9-gamut procedure is a 10-second process wherein 9 of these brain-stimulating actions are performed while continuously tapping on one of the body's energy points, the gamut point. Now, it has been found after years of experience that this routine can add efficiency to EFT and hastens your progress towards emotional freedom, especially when it's sandwiched between 2 trips through the sequence. The 9-gamut procedure is where you have your eyes closed, you have your eyes open. You put your eyes hard right and then hard left. You roll your eyes in a circle clockwise and then in a circle counterclockwise. You hum 2 seconds of a song. You can choose a song that makes you feel happy. Count rapidly from 1 to 5 and then hum 2 seconds of a song again. Now note that these 9 actions are presented in a certain order, and I suggest that you memorize them in the order given. However, you can mix the order up if you wish, so long as you do all 9 of them, and you perform 7, 8, and 9 as a unit, so those stick together. That is, you hum 2 seconds of the song, then you count, then you hum the song again in that order. Years of experience have proven this to be important. Also note that for some people, humming a song like Happy Birthday causes resistance because it brings up memories of unhappy birthdays. So in this case, you can either use EFT on those unhappy memories and resolve them, or you can sidestep the issue for now by humming some other song that makes you happy. The fourth and last ingredient in the basic recipe I've already mentioned, and that is to do the sequence again. So here are some tapping tips. You can tap with either hand, but it is usually more convenient to do so with your dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you're going to tap right-handed. If you're left-handed, you're going to tap left-handed. You can also tap with both hands simultaneously on either side. Tap with your fingertips of your index finger and middle finger. This covers a little larger area than just tapping with one fingertip and allows you to cover the tapping points more easily. Tap solidly, but never so hard as to hurt or bruise yourself. Tap about 7 times on each of the tapping points, and no, you do not have to count that out. I say about 7 times because you will be repeating a reminder phrase while tapping, and it will be difficult to count at the same time. If you are a little over or a little under 7, like 5 to 9, for example, that will be sufficient. Most of the tapping points exist on either side of the body, so it doesn't matter which side you use, nor does it matter if you switch sides during the sequence. For example, you can tap under your right eye and later in the sequence tap under your left arm. Okay, you're going to be just fine. Now, the reminder phrase. This is simply a word or short phrase that describes the problem and that you repeat out loud each time you tap one of the points in the sequence. So in this way, you continually remind your system about the problem you are working on. The best reminder phrase to use is usually identical to what you choose for the affirmation you use in the setup. For example, if you're working on a fear of public speaking, the setup affirmation would go something like this: even though I have this fear of public speaking, I deeply and completely accept myself. Within this affirmation, the underlined words would be fear of public speaking. These are ideal candidates to use as a reminder phrase. Okay? So it's just simply a word or a short phrase. It could even be, I am scared. I am afraid. But it's something specific like fear of public speaking, you would want to use fear of public speaking. You can actually test where you are in your process. So you can determine how badly the negative emotion impacts you on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst. This is known as testing. Once you've completed the entire basic recipe, the setup, the sequence, the 9-gamut procedure, the sequence again, ask yourself the question again. The number should be lower. Continue working on the issue until the number is 2 or lower. Ideally, 0 would be great. You should always measure the intensity as it exists now, as you think about it, and not as you think it would be in the actual situation. Remember, the basic recipe balances the disturbances in your energy system as they exist right now in this moment while you're working on it, while you are tuned in to the thought or the circumstance. So you might wonder at this point if getting to 0 while just thinking about a spider will hold up when you are actually confronted with a real, great big, ginormous, hairy, scary spider. And the answer is usually yes, it does work. In most cases, the energy disruption that occurs while thinking about the spider are the same as those when you are in the presence of that real spider. That's why the original energy balancing tends to hold in the real circumstances. Now, the exception to this is when some new aspect of the problem comes up in the real situation that wasn't there when you were just thinking about it. For example, you may have been thinking about a stationary spider that didn't move. If that movement is an important aspect of your fear, and if it was absent from your thinking when the original rounds were done, then that part of the fear will arise when you see a moving spider. This is a reasonably common occurrence, and it doesn't mean that EFT didn't work. This simply means there is more to do. Just apply the basic recipe to the new aspect of the moving spider until your emotional response goes to 0. Once all aspects have been eliminated, your phobic response to spiders will be history, and you will be perfectly calm around them, whether they're moving or not. Different aspects are possible with just about any problem you want to address with EFT. Sometimes they take the form of a series of traumatic memories, such as memories of war, abuse, or rape. Each of those memories can be a separate problem or aspect and needs to be addressed individually before complete relief from the distress is obtained. Now, please understand that where several aspects of an emotional problem are present, you may not notice any relief until all aspects are reduced to 0 by the basic recipe. This becomes very clear when you compare it to its counterpart in physical healing. If, for example, you have a simultaneous headache, toothache, and stomach ache, you will not feel healthy until all 3 are gone. The pain may seem to shift, but it is nonetheless still pain. So it is with emotional issues the same. Okay? Emotional issues that contain different aspects will do the same thing. They're going to hang around until everything is resolved. Until all aspects are gone, you may not feel you're getting relief, even though you have taken care of one or more aspect. It is best, of course, to be specific whenever you can. That way, you can efficiently zero in on an exact fear, pain, memory, whatever it may be, and eliminate it from your limiting baggage forever. Please understand that the majority of the problems the basic recipe addresses are not laden with numerous aspects. Most problems are easy to identify and just as easily relieved. But just in case you happen to have one of those more involved problems and you are unable to identify specific aspects of it, then I suggest you do 3 rounds of the basic recipe for this feeling or this problem once per day. It's about 3 minutes per day for 30 days. Your subconscious mind has a way of bringing up what is necessary, and you should have relief long before the 30 days are up. EFT, as you can tell, is a very flexible process and will often make progress on problems that are outside of your current awareness. So, persistence pays off. Okay, so you may lack the experience to be able to identify specific aspects and address them individually with the basic recipe. That's okay. You need only go with whatever feeling you are having and address that feeling with the basic recipe. Your subconscious mind knows what you are working on. You might address this feeling with a setup affirmation that goes something like, even though I have this feeling, I deeply and completely accept myself, and a reminder phrase that simply says, this feeling. Okay, so sometimes we lump together a number of specific problems under a larger heading, and this can handicap your progress with EFT. For example, most people would like to have a better quote unquote self image, but don't realize that the term is a general label which serves as a catch all phrase for numerous specific problems, such as memories of abuse, rejection, failure, or fears of various kinds. Someone who has been subject to severe rejection as a child is likely to feel inadequate in many areas of their life. This contributes to their poor self-image by causing energy disruptions and hence negative emotions when they face potential rejection. Accordingly, they consistently feel quote unquote not good enough when given opportunities and tend to stay stuck where they are in life. When lumped together with other negative emotions, self-image problems become more widely generalized and the person feels stopped in even more areas. I use a metaphor to put self-image and other general emotional labels into proper EFT perspective. I liken the general problem to a diseased forest in which each of the underlying specific issues is a negative tree. The forest at first is so densely populated with trees that it may seem impossible to find your way out. To some, it may even seem like a jungle. When we neutralize each specific negative event in our lives with the basic recipe, we are effectively cutting down a negative tree. Continue cutting down these trees, and after a while, the forest will have thinned out so you can walk out of it rather easily. Each toppled tree represents another degree of emotional freedom, and if you are persistent with the basic recipe, you will gradually find your negative responses subsiding. You will find yourself at ease and calm when faced with new opportunities, and you will be guided by a new sense of adventure rather than by a fear of not being good enough. One very helpful concept here is to break down problems into the specific events that underlie them and use EFT on each such specific event. For example, if you have anger because your father abused you, apply EFT to specific events like when dad hit me in the kitchen at age 8. This is often superior to using EFT on the more global issue of my father abused me. So after you address a few related problems with EFT, the process starts to generalize over all those problems. For example, someone who has 100 traumatic memories of being abused usually finds that after using EFT, they all vanish after neutralizing only 5 or 10 of them. This is startling to some people because they have so many traumas in their life. They think they are in for unending sessions with these techniques, and that's just not so, at least not usually. EFT often clears out a whole forest after cutting down just a few trees. Use it on everything, from the fear of public speaking to intense war memories, from chocolate cravings to insomnia, from hiccups to multiple sclerosis. I know of no limit to the emotional and physical problems which can be addressed by EFT. However, this try it on everything idea must be interpreted with common sense. Its purpose is to expand your awareness of EFT's possibilities. It is not a license to act irresponsibly. Accordingly, you should not try EFT on serious mental illness or anything else unless you are properly trained or qualified in that area. So EFT in a nutshell is this: memorize the basic recipe, aim it at any emotional or physical problem by customizing it with an appropriate setup, affirmation, and reminder phrase. Be specific where possible and aim EFT at specific emotional events in your life that may underlie the problem. Where necessary, be persistent until all aspects of the problem have vanished. Try it on everything.